Can you guys see my screen? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much. All right, so yesterday we started with what you call this, with cloud computing. Um, so we've just introduced a few concepts of of cloud computing. Okay, so today we're going to continue with that. Okay. All right. So in terms of a timeline, history of computers, how computers have actually evolved to a point where we now can have all these different technologies that we have. So when we try to define a computer, most of the time when people think of computers, they only think of desktop or laptops, but they don't. That's when we refer to a device as a computer. But in fact, any device that have any computing capabilities is considered to be a computer device. When we think of cloud computing or when we talk about computers in IT, it's not just desktop and laptops. So it's anything that has computing capabilities, such as uh, even your servers, your routers, your all your switches, the firewalls, your all these devices such as intruder detection systems that you have, all your cameras. So all those are considered to be computers. So when we talk about computers, you need to understand that we mean everything that has computing capabilities. You understand? So why this definition matter? Because when we think of computing, cloud computing, in cloud computing, we treat all these devices as resources. So these devices can be called resources. So when we doing what we spoke about yesterday, a virtualization, so all these devices are considered to be computers, whether it's a camera or it's a router or things like that. So all those things are considered to be computers. So basically, you need to understand that a computer is not just limited to your desktop or your laptop, but it's all devices that's including every device that is involved in storage, networking, security devices. They are all considered computers. All right. So that is very important to note that. So we have kind of a timeline of the computer history. So the first computer was from the 1889, where the first electromechanical tabulating machine was invented. And then from that time, there have been a strong evolution of computers with different capabilities and until the present, until today, we have computers that are completely different. So, okay, so when it comes to virtualization, what is virtualization? You need to understand virtualization is just the act of creating a virtual version of something. So it can be a virtual version of your system. Um, so basically, which involve your hardware, your software, so everything that you can do locally, we can use virtualization. That means everything is now done online. Everything is now done using the cloud. So we need to understand that virtualization is just a fundamental technology, right? That powers cloud computing, right? So if we have to um, uh, understand virtualization, we need to get the fact that virtualization it's just a system, it's just a technology that will allow multiple virtual machines that we also call VMs. So when we hear the term VM. So when we talk about the term VM, you need to understand we're talking about virtual machines. So all these virtual machines can run on physical servers, right? So these VMs will share the CPU, the memory, the hardware resources on a certain physical server. Um, but on normal, if you have to observe the way they are currently built, they are logically isolated from each other. So you have them in different locations. So you can have, for example, this one which run on Windows 10. It runs certain application, and then you have this other one that run on Ubuntu, and they have different operating system. But this virtual machine here can actually work together for the same purpose, even if they are on different locations. So what we do is that we're going to take the resources, we virtualize them and place them in a shared resource pool. So there is that. So we need to understand in computer science, virtualization creates the kind of layers over the computer hardware, just for the purpose of resource simulation, isolation, or sharing of multiple operating systems. So this system can be so big that you're dealing with different type of software or different type of systems, but they work together. You understand? So we need to understand that that is the process of virtualization. Okay, so to understand what is virtualization, we need to understand virtualization is just a process that we use, a technology that we use by creating virtual machines that run on physical servers, right? These servers are isolated from each other. So virtualization will allow multiple virtual machines to run on a single physical server as well. So you have multiple computers running on one um, server, right? So in VMs, so VMs will share the CPU, the memory, and the hardware resources. And you need to understand that each VM is logically isolated from the others. Okay, so that is very important to understand about virtualization. Okay, so the method of building a virtualization system will be to just split all the physical resources into multiple logical resources. Okay, an example of that can be you see, think of it like what we have on your computer when you installing maybe the operating system for the first time. You can create like partition in your disk. So you have certain partition on the disk. Maybe usually people will you check like on a Windows computer, you will find maybe the C drive. So on the C drive, someone will have maybe the operating system and the softwares. You understand? And then maybe on the D drive, that way you keep maybe your files or something like that. And then the day you want to actually fix your computer when you have a problem with your software, maybe you're going to only delete one of the disk and it doesn't affect the other files. You understand? So that is an example of how virtualization works as well. So it's all about splitting physical resources into multiple logical resources. Okay. So, but in this case now, we can have computers that are connected and are working together on a certain server. Okay. So talking about the history of virtualization, we understand that virtualization is a system that started since the 1964. Uh, and then there have been different methods, different technologies that have been really involved. For example, you have in 1964, when you have IBM, right? IBM that began experimenting with virtualization on mainframe. You have in 1972 where IBM officially named the system. So where they actually create the system that was actually running on what we call a time sharing system in 1972. So that's how the history goes in terms of virtualization. So this has been moving from years and different technologies up to 2011. So the technology in 2011 is completely different from what we had in 1964. And it's important to note that there have been a lot of evolution with that. Yeah. All right. What is cloud computing? So if we have to find a definition of cloud computing, according to the National Institute of Standard and Technology, cloud computing is defined as a model enabling. So basically, when we look at the definition of cloud computing, so cloud computing is just a model that you have in terms of, as we've explained, we take computer system resources, especially we deal with servers, all your data storage, all what we call in AI, we call it computing power. So we actually put them in kind of a network without a direct active management by the user. So the user of the system do not know how the data are being shared amongst different computing powers. But what we do is that we're going to use all these networks, servers, all your storage, applications, services, and then take all these, put them in one network, which does not actually affect the user themselves. So you need to understand cloud computing is just the technology behind putting in a network where we have all these resources that we're going to put together so you can access all these resources anytime, anyway. So you have, for example, you have a phone that you are using, but you need to get a picture from a picture, but the picture is not on your phone. It's on a certain cloud. You can access the cloud, download the picture. Another user as well, somewhere else using the same cloud service. An example I can give you, you have things like Dropbox. You have Dropbox, you have your Google Drive. It's a certain computer, a certain server that we are all using. We're all using it. We're all taking our files, putting on the same computer. So we are all sharing the same computer. You find that as well when you're creating your website. You have an hosting company, which is hosting all your files. So all your pictures you upload, everything you upload on your website are being kept by a certain company. And that company is also providing the same service to other people. So all of you are using the same servers to keep your data. Even if as a user, you are not really involved in understanding what other users' data that are on the same servers. That's why you will find, for example, with hosting website, some companies will not allow you to do certain things or install certain softwares directly. Why? Because they don't want you to affect other people's data because it's a shared hosting. So you have to bear with that. Okay. So in our daily life, we are affected by cloud computing. There's many cloud services and applications around us. For example, in terms of music, we have some cloud services that give us help us deal with music, uh, cloud albums, pictures, cloud videos, cloud documents. So we basically have example. Can anybody tell us any example of a cloud album? So when we talk about cloud album, We focus on things like storage, a cloud that help you can store your pictures or anything like that. Do you know any cloud
Google Photo,
services? Sorry.
Google Photos,
Yes. Yeah. So you have your Google Drive, Dropbox, iCloud. Yeah. So those the functions of those cloud is just to store and share personal photos, videos, and files online. And then you have like cloud music such as Spotify, your Apple Music. You know, um, so the function of this is mostly to stream music anytime without downloading all your playlists and your preferences across devices. Okay? Across all your devices, if you have a Spotify, so you don't have to download the music. You understand? So you can actually stream the music directly from the cloud. And then you have your cloud videos. An example of cloud videos. Anybody knows an example of a cloud video?
YouTube,
Yeah.
Prime, Netflix.
Yes. You have your YouTube, Netflix. Those are cloud videos. YouTube, Netflix. You have your Baidu cloud videos. You have your Tencent cloud videos. So
TikTok.
basically, yeah. So basically, these are have a function to just help you watch videos or movies on demand, like. Uh, So basically, you're doing it directly from cloud service. All right. And then you have your cloud docs, which is cloud document and office. So this is when you're dealing with things such as cloud that help you deal with documents. For example, editing, collaborating while working on a certain document, to store document online in real time. You have examples of your Google Docs, your Microsoft 365 OneDrive. You have many other servers like that are part of the cloud docs. Okay, so we understand that in our daily life there is a lot of cloud services. You have cloud messaging, such as social media, WhatsApp, WeChat, Facebook, Instagram. So all these images, messages, videos are all stored on cloud servers. They are not saved on our device. They are saved on the cloud. So basically, you have all these technologies that come with. Okay. All right. So now we have a cloud service, um, such as the Huawei Cloud Meeting. The Huawei Cloud Meeting is just a service that will help you in terms of having video conferencing, right? So this is very a nice service that you can check. So it helps with live streaming, videos, conferences. So it guys, can you still hear me and see my screen? Sometimes my browser is acting like it's freezing.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. All right. So we have this. Okay. So we have these services, for example, the Huawei Cloud Meeting. So this will help you if you're dealing with things like live streaming or video conferencing. Okay. In terms of the development of cloud computing, we were on cloud computing 1, and then we moved to cloud computing 2.0. Now we are on 3.0. So when you look at this, it's all about different technologies at the time. So we had, for example, on the level of cloud computing 1.0, we have just virtualization with some services such as the Xen, KVM. These are some of the cloud services, right? Uh, but the problem with this, there was such an high resource utilization. So, and then we have 2.0, which is mostly focused on creating certain softwares. So instead of you just using the memory or using the space or using the storage on the cloud, but we also use softwares that are directly on the cloud. So you use, for example, you have your Amazon Web Service, the AWS, and then you have your VMware, your OpenStack. So these are some services that are using Cloud Computing 2.0. And then you have Cloud Computing 3.0, which has certain services such as the Docker, OS, Cloud Foundry. Yeah. Okay, so here are the features of cloud computing. There's a lot of features, but we can actually summarize them in terms of the 5 categories here. You have, for example, metered services. So these refer more to cloud services that charge you based on how you're using the service. So you don't pay an actual fee or monthly fee or an annual fee, but what you do is you actually use the service. So the more you're using the service, the more you're getting charged for it. So those are example of metered services. Okay, and then you have a quick deployment and auto scaling. So that's the advantage of using cloud. So you get certain apps that you need to deploy, but when you're using a cloud, you're really getting the benefit of a quick deployment. And then you have resource pooling. So this refers to how data can be transferred from one service to another service. You understand? So how do you get your pictures? How fast do you get your pictures from your Google Drive? You understand? Okay, and then you have a widespread network access. It means no matter how big the network is, you have access to so many data from different sources, depending on your system. Okay, and then you have an on-demand self-service, which means that whatever you want to do at any time, depending on what your needs, you can do it when you have a cloud service. Okay. All right, so these are some of the deployment models of, of cloud computing. We have many platforms that can help you from the cloud. You can actually have some software that can help you build application, collect different data. And so you have, you can use operating systems that are actually deployed on the cloud. So you have many technologies and there's many things that you can actually do with that. Okay. Okay. Now, when you deploying your system or when you want to use any cloud service, we have 3 categories of cloud service. You have public cloud, you have private cloud, and you have hybrid cloud. Okay, so it's very important to understand that this type of cloud, right? The choice of the cloud, the type of cloud that you choose is very important depending on what type of system you're working on, what's your application. So if, let's say you're building a system for the bank, you can't build a system of the bank on a public cloud. You understand? So if you build a system of the bank on a public cloud, can you see the danger of at the moment where you have a data breach? Can you see what can be the consequence? You have, for example, a system of an hospital. You can't do that. You understand? So you have your public cloud, you have your private cloud, and then you have hybrid cloud. So when you have your private, so your private cloud will be the cloud infrastructures that are owned and managed by exclusive use by a single organization. So this can be an example I can give you, how you call that. Let's say you have your own store, or not store, let's say a certain hospital. They're keeping the data on the cloud, but there's nobody else who access that system. So the whole system is just for the hospital. So that cloud will be considered a private cloud. But when we talk about a public cloud, it means that you go subscribe to a third-party cloud service, and then there's many organizations that are using the same thing. So an example of that, you have, for example, your Amazon web service, right? Which actually offer a wide range of services like computing power, storage, and databases. But there's many users. You can subscribe with AWS, another person subscribes. So we are all using the same information. So the day where the same server, that server will be hacked, we're all going to be victims of that. So this is a public cloud. Another public cloud, you have all your IBM cloud, your Microsoft Azure, all those cloud. Okay, so when we talk about an hybrid cloud, so an hybrid cloud will be when we're combining a public and private cloud, depending on what you're doing. For example, in the system in your organization, some of the data are kept on a private cloud that belong to your organization, and some of the data are kept on a public cloud, but you guys collaborate with those data. Okay, so those are the differences between your public cloud, private cloud, and hybrid cloud. Okay, so we have some cloud computing vendors and representative in terms of technologies. You have, for example, Huawei that provide a Huawei Cloud, which I think it started in 2017, which will have a really wide range of cloud computing product and solutions. Okay, so you have different technologies that you're going to get access through the Huawei Cloud, and then you have the AWS, so the Amazon Web Service, which also comes with different services such as storage, database, applications. You also have your Microsoft Azure, which is a cloud computing platform where you can have access to some virtual machines, storage, databases, and then you have your Google Cloud as well. You have your Google Cloud, and then you have your IBM Cloud, Alibaba Cloud, VM Cloud. So these are some of the big names in terms of the cloud services that you can have. All right, so guys, remember when you're creating all these technologies, we are dealing with a large amount of data. It's very difficult for you to create a system and do everything locally. So if your system is big enough, you really need to deal with all the information on the cloud. You can't deal with things locally. It causes a lot of problems. This is the reason why we have certain issues to certain services, such as the Department of Home Affairs, for example, where they tell you the system is offline. Why is the system offline? How can the system be offline? You understand? So issues like that are when you're using, for example, a certain servers, the data are kept somewhere in Pretoria, for example. So whenever there's a problem there, maybe there's load shedding in the area, there was a problem with the server, the whole country is affected, right? While if everything is being kept on the cloud on um, some wealthy companies such as Google, such as Amazon. So you can't just hear that the AWS, Amazon Web Service, was offline. You understand? So um, very important when you're building a system. If your system is very advanced or something like that, please just look for a certain cloud because you have all these companies, even like TikTok. TikTok does not keep their own data. They are using a third-party service. So when you look at that, find a service that is specialized in dealing with your data and everything, and subscribe to those services. All right. Any comment? Any comment? All right. So we have like the Huawei Cloud. Will give you everything as a service. So basically, we have technology as a service. We have experience as a service and infrastructure as a service. That will depend on what you are trying um, to um, to build, and then you can see what you are requiring from the cloud. You understand? Uh, that's the thing. So sometimes you just need the technology as a service. You want to use the technology. Maybe you want to use a certain technology in your application. Instead of you recreating the same technology, you can have access to that technology through the cloud of a certain company that can give you access to that. All right. For example, we spoke in AI in terms of image recognition. So while recreating the system, while you can connect to a third party that can give you access to certain APIs that you can connect to your application, and you're going to be able to uh, have an application that is very strong in terms of facial recognition. Instead of you recreating that model, training the model, and recreating that AI, with your small resources, while you could have just used a service that was trained by a big company with better resources, better data. You understand? So those are some of the advantages of using uh, these services. Okay. So when you look at that now, you see that the Huawei Cloud, um, the Huawei Cloud will actually provide all the capabilities that we need. Okay, so this is very, very important to note, right? So you have everything as a service. So when we mean everything as a service, it means everything as a service, which will go from uh, infrastructure as a service, or sometimes they call it IaaS. And then you have technology as a service that you can see in some resources that will call it TaaS, and then experience as a service. Okay.
Sorry, said, why don't we have the software as a service on the previous slide?
Now, you mean here?
Yes.
Now
So when we say everything is an experience as a service,
yeah.
so it simply means that also the software as a service is included there.
Yeah, because remember now you have the technology as a service. So technology as a service, that means the technology we're talking about is the software. So that's the software as a service. So the reason why they say technology as a service, it's because it doesn't just go with the software itself, right? Because it's gonna go from the software to the hardware. So basically, when you are deploying, you have all your uh, chips that you have. Let's say it's an AI tool. You need certain chips to deal with AI in terms of the training or inference of those AIs. So you have a you have a full service there. So you have the whole technology in terms of the software, the hardware. You understand?
Yes, I understand.
Yes,
But
yes.
my argument is that when you say software as a service, is that you can
Yeah.
only buy the software as a service, whereby
Yes.
everything is created maybe at the Huawei side, and then they just provide you software as a service because of you are an end user. Remember, software as a service is given to the end user.
Yeah.
So, so my point is that I'm not sure why did not they mention the software as a service, or here they're talking about something different.
No, 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 no. It's not. It's not. It's not something different. That's what I was saying. That the software as a service is part of the technology as a service package. You understand? Because
Okay.
yes, because remember when we talk about software as a service, we are talking about basically a user that can just use the certain application without
Yes.
really understanding the infrastructure behind it or the platform, the way the platform is being managed and everything like that, right? We spoke about the let me go back to that slide. Remember here we spoke about this. Can you see this is a software, the Huawei Cloud Meeting. Can you see? So you
Yes.
have you have the Huawei Cloud Meeting, for example, which is a software that users can use to join meetings, share the screens, and but they don't have to manage the servers or manage how things are happening, right? You
Yes.
have another software as a service that is provided by Huawei. You have the Huawei Cloud WeLink. The WeLink, it works like Zoom. It's exactly like Zoom.
Mm.
Yes, which is hosted and maintained by Huawei. You understand? So it helps with all your meetings. You can share messages and uh, document sharing. You understand? So you have different services that are being offered by Huawei. But when we look at this slide, when we spoke about this. Let me go back to that slide there. Okay, so when we look at this now, when we talk about technology as a service, right? So when we talk about all these, when we say everything as a service, what we actually want to say there is uh, everything as a service involve your hardware, your platforms, your apps, right? Uh, you have that as well. So everything as a service is includes in the technology as a service. It includes your software as well. Okay. So here we looked at it um, as part of the software because you have your infrastructure as a service, you have your experience as a service, and then you have your technology as a service. And then when we talk about technology, we are talking about the softwares as well. I don't know if that was
No.
it.
Yeah. No. No. You can continue. Say no. I was just puzzled that why software as a service is not included on the slide. But as you are explaining to it that maybe technology is part of it, as because of we are talking about application modernization. So applications always it will be a software. So yeah, no, I understand because I know that is one of the key technologies, software as a service. So hence I was puzzled that why didn't they at least mention it on the slide. But thank you.
Yeah. No, that's when we talk about, as I said, when we talk about um, software as a service. It's part of the technology as a service. So the software is included in technology. Yeah, that's what it means. Okay, so we have many cloud services that deal with different areas. Okay. All right, guys. So I think we're gonna continue with the Huawei Cloud Stack tomorrow. Yeah, we will take it tomorrow. So the Huawei Cloud Stack will actually focus on how we put together. You can have your local deployment plus your cloud services, and how you can manage them together. But sometimes you're creating a certain system where certain information or certain data will be dealt with locally and others will be dealt with on the cloud. So you can create a system that can actually put those together. We will talk about that tomorrow. All right, guys. Any question? Any question? All right, guys.
Yeah, so I just joined today and I just found the course very interesting. I'm learning a lot and thank you for that. Hence my questions, but I'm very interested in understanding the cloud technology. But now my question is, how do we register in your class?
All right. I will ask the Arif, the ambassador on the group, to send again, because I know that's a problem with WhatsApp, because when someone joined the group later, they can't see previous messages. Yeah, so I will ask him to resend the guide, the registration guide. Yeah, I'll ask him to resend it on the group. We must send the registration guide on the group with the class code.
Invitation code. Okay.
And then and then I will approve it. I will check again. There's a few applications that I approved yesterday, but for the rest of the people, I will approve again.
So the class is always 6 o'clock every day.
Yeah, 5:30 to 6:30. So it's just 1 hour, not every day. Just Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So three days a week.
Oh.
Yes, but
okay.
But we'll use the same link here.
Okay, is that Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday?
Yes.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah, and for those who missed AI, the videos were recorded. I think I've sent the link on the group. I'll send it again. You can just go through that, and then you can also register for the AI class so I can approve it. Yeah, you can go through the videos. Hopefully, you're gonna catch up and prepare, because we need to write a mock exam, which you're gonna write in your own space, your own time, before before the 15th of September. So before the 15th of September, you need to make sure you've passed your mock exam,